Who really needs an electric coffee roaster at home, and who would be better off keeping their beans in a simple pan? If you're the kind of coffee lover who wants to experiment with light, medium, or dark profiles without stepping foot in a professional roastery, this could be a game changer. On the other hand, if you just want a single-serve brew each morning and don't care about the roast nuance, it might be an unnecessary expense. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I'll walk you through why the UWYTGF 1600 watt machine lands where it does on the value scale for everyday buyers. When I first started looking into home roasting gear, the biggest hesitation I ran into was the fear of just another gadget that gathers dust. Most entry-level roasters either promise lightning-fast roasting but sacrifice consistency, or they're tiny units that can't handle more than a half cup of beans. The UWYTGF tries to bridge that gap with a 1500G capacity and an adjustable timer, but the real question is whether those numbers translate into a practical, repeatable workflow in a kitchen that's already packed with coffee makers, grinders, and a pile of mugs. Let's break down the everyday scenario. Imagine you've just bought a fresh bag of single-origin beans, you've read the grower's notes, and you want to test a medium-dark roast to see how the chocolate notes develop. With this roaster, you can dump up to 1.5 kilograms of beans at once, set the temperature on the dial, and program a roast time that matches the profile you're after. The 1600W heating element kicks in, and the beans tumble inside a non-stick ceramic pot, which means you won't have to scrape burnt residue off metal cranks after each batch. The result is a fairly uniform roast in roughly 1012 minutes, depending on how dark you push it. For a home barista who likes to experiment, that speed and capacity feel genuine rather than just a marketing claim. Now, who should skip it? If you're a casual drinker who never steers away from a pre-ground bag, the learning curve of timing and temperature may feel like a chore. The machine does not have a built-in automatic profile that tells you exactly when to stop. You still have to listen for the first crack, watch the bean color, and possibly use a separate thermometer if you want pinpoint accuracy. That extra step can be off-putting for someone who just wants coffee on tap. Also, the unit is fairly large, about the size of a small microwave. If kitchen counter space is at a premium, you might end up shoving it into a pantry and only using it once a month, which defeats the purpose of a daily roaster. Let's talk practical strengths. The most noticeable benefit is the ability to roast not just coffee but also nuts and grains. I tried popping a handful of raw almonds at medium heat, and the nonstick interior ensured they toasted evenly without needing a separate pan. That versatility means the device can double as a mini toaster for snacks, giving you more bang for your buck. The timer, while manual, provides a clear visual cue. You turn the knob, set the minutes, and the unit beeps when the cycle ends. The beep is loud enough to hear across the kitchen, so you can step away and come back without fearing an over-roasted batch. On the flip side, the adjustable temperature control is limited to a single range knob rather than a digital display. In practice, you're selecting a temperature band that feels medium or high without precise numbers. If you're chasing consistency batch after batch, this could lead to slight variations, especially if the ambient kitchen temperature shifts. Additionally, the non-stick coating, while convenient for cleanup, can degrade over time if you regularly scrape stubborn residues with metal utensils. Keeping the pot's interior pristine may require you to stick to silicone or wooden tools, which adds a small habit change. Another hidden trade-off is the noise level. The tumbling motion makes a low rumble that's comparable to a blender on low speed. It's not a thunderclap, but if you have a young child or a sleep-sensitive pet, you might want to schedule roasts during a quieter part of the day. The machine does not have a built-in sound dampening feature, so the acoustic footprint is something to consider. From a value perspective, the price point sits in the mid-range for home roasters. You're getting a high-wattage heating element, a fairly large capacity, and a non-stick interior all in one package. If you compare that to buying separate appliances for roasting coffee, nuts, and grains, the UWYTGF consolidates three functions, which can justify the cost for someone who will actually use all three. For a buyer whose primary interest is coffee alone, cheaper single-purpose roasters exist, but they often lack the 1.5 kilograms capacity and may require more frequent cleaning. One practical tip I discovered during testing was to preheat the roaster for a minute before adding beans. This helps the temperature stabilize quicker, reducing the time you spend watching for the first crack. Also, after each roast, a quick rinse with warm water and